Ceema and I'm back with a new lesson on how to make a good first impression. Trying too hard to impress, are we? Well, maybe you're trying too hard, or maybe you're just trying in the wrong areas. You need to know the basics of impressing somebody. And in an interview, you need to, of course, make a good impression. Why? Because you want to get the job you desire. So what are you going to look at when you want to make a good impression in an interview? The first one is entering confidently. Now, wait a minute. Before you enter a room that you are going to be interviewed in, you need to just step back, take a deep breath, relax, okay? And then, before you enter in, just put on a nice big smile, because when you enter the room, you can be confident that you will not only have the best smile that your interviewer has probably seen, but you will appear so much more confident. So it is very important that you smile to appear confident. What else would you do? Well, when you enter, the way you enter makes a lot of difference, which means you need to realign your posture, which means you need to put your back straight, keep your back straight. Don't slouch while walking. Don't walk like this. You need to walk confidently with your head held high. So realigning your body posture plays a very important role. And why do you hold your head up high? Because if I, just keep my head down, I'd look like a nervous wreck. And, it would show underconfidence. And as we want to enter confidently, you don't want to show you are nervous or underconfident in any way. Well, that is all about entering confidently. What else can you do when you are entering? You can maybe scan the room, just look around the room a little bit, which gives a more positive vibe. So scanning the room is another thing you can do. Or maybe just look around, which shows that you are interested in your surroundings. And now when you actually approach your potential employer or the person who is going to interview you, you need to give them a firm handshake. And a proper eye contact. Sometimes when you are interviewing somebody, you will always notice that the person is visibly shaking and his handshake is often very weak. And there are some of them who are so overconfident that they kind of end up squeezing your hand until you're almost in pain. And you don't want to do that. You want to appear confident. So if you have made a confident entry, you can't spoil it by having a weak or an extra strong handshake. Instead, your handshake needs to be firm. And when you look at the person, you look at the person in the eye, which actually shows, according to psychological studies, that you are an honest person. You have nothing to hide. It also shows that you are a person who is very open to feedback. And then you have your posture while sitting, of course, because once you shake hands with your interviewer and look him in the eye, you are going to be asked to be seated. So when you are going to be sitting, what is your sitting posture going to be like? Well, I always recommend that before you go in for an interview, if you want to be, very sure about sitting properly, you need to, try on the clothes you are going to wear in an interview. So suppose if I were to go into an interview tomorrow and I'd go into my wardrobe, fish out my business suit, put it on, and then try sitting in a chair with maybe my legs folded and my elbows on the armrest of the chair. Now, why do I ask you to wear your clothes before the day of the interview and try sitting in a particular posture? Because your muscles, your body muscles, they kind of they are used to moving in certain ways. So sometimes when you wear certain clothes, you are not accustomed to sitting in a particular way. But if you practice in advance, your muscles are now used to sitting in a particular way. So you're actually giving practice to your muscles. So sitting postures would mean also that you sit erect, which means you don't slouch. So, and you can practice, as I said, a day in advance. So you have a sitting practice that you perform in front of your mirror a day in advance of the interview. And when you sit in advance and practice those sitting movements, you also come to know whether your clothes are a little too tight or are they a little bit too loose. So accordingly, you can also pick what you're going to wear from your wardrobe. Gestures. Well, gestures, when I'm talking about gestures, I'm talking about hand movements and also the leg movements. I don't want someone who is always, shaking their hands and legs. So you have people in interviews who keep shaking their legs, and it's such a distraction. So it shows that they're nervous, and there are some of them who have their hands all knotted up, which shows that they are very nervous, which is natural, but it should not come across as if you are afraid. So your hand gestures are going to be open hand gestures. And there's going to be no shaking, so we will have no shaking of hands and legs. And don't fold your arms. Do not ever fold your arms, because it shows that you are just, you have this huge barrier toward being communicated to, and you don't want to give that impression to your employer that that's what you are, because you want to be a person who can be spoken to, given feedback to, and therefore you have open hand gestures and you don't shake your hands and legs, because that, like I said, shows that you are afraid, you are extra nervous, and you are just not ready for this kind of a job. And then you have matching the frequency. Well, what is frequency? Well, when I say match the frequency, you're probably thinking radio. No, we're not talking about the radio. We're talking about aping or mirroring the person who is interviewing you. Well, do I mean that I'm going to copy the person, everything? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that depending on how the person interviews me, if he is very enthusiastic, I will have a more enthusiastic tone of voice maybe. If he's of a more sober, if his voice is more sober and if he's in a more somber mood, I will also match that mood. I won't be over enthusiastic while I am giving the interview. So I am basically aping or mirroring the interviewer. Matching the frequency could also deal with, sitting in a way that the interviewer is sitting in. So if he is sitting in a more, formal position, I might also adopt a more formal posture. If he's, a little bit on the laid back side, I could adopt a little bit less formal posture, but I need to stick with, a good posture overall, so you don't kind of overrule the 4 other points we talked about. Well, if you stick to these basics, I'm sure that you will make a good first impression, and who knows, you will just get that job that you have so desired all your life, and that should help your career. So you go ahead out there and make a good impression and tell me how it went. I'll see you back with a new lesson. Until then, you take very good care of yourself.